Hades. Hades is the king of the dead. But here's the first thing most people get wrong about him. He did not choose this. After the Olympians defeated the Titans, the three brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, drew lots to divide the universe between them. Zeus won the sky. Poseidon won the sea. Hades got everything below. He ruled not out of ambition, but out of chance. And once he was down there, he almost never left. His presence on the surface was considered such a bad omen that Greeks went out of their way to avoid even saying his name, calling him Plouton instead, meaning the rich one, because all precious metals and minerals rise from underground. He was not the god of death in the sense of killing. That job belonged to others. Hades simply governed what arrived. Ancient sources, including Hesiod, consistently describe him as impartial and just rather than cruel, a ruler who enforced the rules of death with cold fairness. He owned the Helm of Darkness, which rendered him invisible, a weapon he used during the war against the Titans. He also owned Cerberus, the three-headed dog who guarded the gate of his realm, making sure the dead stayed in and the living stayed out. His most famous act was the abduction of Persephone, which set off a chain of events that reshaped the entire Greek world. Dark throne, dim light, absolute silence, and a king who understood that his kingdom had no end. Persephone. Persephone started as Kor, meaning simply the maiden, a daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest, who spent her days picking flowers in sunlit fields. Then Hades took her. He abducted her while she was gathering flowers, dragged her into the earth, and made her his queen. Demeter's grief was so total that she let the world starve. Crops died, winter arrived, and the earth went barren until Zeus was forced to intervene. He brokered a deal. Persephone would spend part of the year in the Underworld and part on the surface. The reason she could never fully leave was the pomegranate. While underground, she had eaten seeds from one, and in Greek belief, consuming food in the realm of the dead bound you to it. Ancient sources differ on the exact number of seeds. Some say 3, some say 6. But the consequence was the same. What makes Persephone genuinely interesting is what she became after. She did not remain a captive. She grew into a powerful queen in her own right, ruling alongside Hades with real authority over the dead. Heroes like Orpheus and Psyche had to appeal to her directly, and she had the power to grant or refuse. She was compassionate where Hades was impartial, and together they made the underworld function. She is also the reason winter exists, which is not a small legacy. Hecate. Hecate is one of the most difficult Greek deities to categorize, which is exactly the point. She held power across all 3 realms, sky, earth, and underworld, making her uniquely uncategorizable in a pantheon that otherwise sorted its gods very neatly. She was the goddess of crossroads, magic, and liminal spaces, the in-between places where the rules of the normal world grow thin. In ancient Greece, crossroads were considered genuinely dangerous, spots where the living and the dead could encounter each other, and Hecate presided over all of them. She is almost always depicted carrying 2 torches, lighting the way between worlds in both directions. She is the one who heard Persephone's abduction and guided Demeter's search with her torches, making her central to one of the most important myths in Greek religion. Offerings called Hecate's suppers were left at crossroads at night, food placed down and walked away from without looking back. Her triple form, 3 bodies facing outward to watch every direction at once, was common in later Greek art. Her sacred animals included dogs, snakes, and the polecat. Some scholars believe she was originally imported from Anatolia rather than being a native Greek deity, though her integration into the pantheon became so complete it barely matters. She is the goddess of the threshold, and the threshold is everywhere. Thanatos. Thanatos is the god of death, but not the way most people imagine. He did not kill. He was not violent, not monstrous, not a figure of dread in the way later cultures shaped their death gods. Thanatos represented the gentle end, the peaceful release, the death that comes at the right time and does not struggle. Violent death belonged to other forces entirely, the Keres, dark spirits who fed on battlefield carnage. Thanatos was something quieter. He was the twin brother of Hypnos, the god of sleep, and the Greeks considered the two so similar that they treated sleep and death as nearly identical states, one temporary, one permanent. Both were born from Nyx, the primordial goddess of night, without a father. Homer shows the two brothers together in the Iliad, carrying the body of the fallen hero Sarpedon gently off the battlefield, which tells you everything about how Thanatos was understood, not as a predator, but as a bearer. The most famous story involving him is the one where Sisyphus managed to capture and chain him so that no one on earth could die. The gods were furious and eventually freed him. Thanatos is depicted as a winged young man, sometimes bearded, sometimes holding an extinguished torch or a butterfly. He is calm in every image, because calm is precisely what he represents. Melino. Melino is genuinely unsettling, which is probably why so few people have heard of her. She is the goddess of ghosts, known almost entirely from a single Orphic hymn, and her purpose was to roam the earth at night, leading a procession of restless spirits, driving any mortal who encountered her into madness and terror. She is the reason the Greeks made offerings to appease the dead, not out of general respect, but out of specific fear that Melino and her procession might pass through. Her parentage in the Orphic tradition is deliberately strange. She was said to have been fathered by Zeus, while he was disguised as Hades, making her origin genuinely ambiguous between the two most powerful gods in existence. Her physical description is striking. She is said to be split, one half pale as the upper world, one half pitch black as the lower, a body that literally reflects the boundary she inhabits. Her name likely means dark-minded, though the exact etymology is debated. She does not appear in Homer or Hesiod, which places her outside the mainstream of Greek religious tradition and inside the more esoteric Orphic mysteries. That obscurity only makes her more compelling. She is what the Greeks actually feared when they feared ghosts. Not the memory of the dead, but a goddess leading them through your walls at midnight. Macaria. Macaria is one of the most conceptually interesting figures in the Greek underworld, and one of the least discussed. She is the goddess of blessed death, the daughter of Hades, and her name means exactly what it sounds like: blessed. The same Greek root, makarios, was used to describe the happy dead in Elysium, which tells you immediately what Macaria represents. Not the act of dying, which belongs to Thanatos, and not violent death, which belongs to darker forces, but the idea of dying well. A good death, at the right time, leading to a peaceful rest. The Greeks took this seriously enough to give it its own deity. She is associated with Elysium, the paradise region of the underworld reserved for heroes and the virtuous, and she almost certainly played a role in how the blessed dead were received there. Almost no stories survive about her as a character. She is more of a divine concept given a name and a domain, which in itself reflects how the Greeks thought about death. A note of caution: there is a separate Macaria in Greek myth, the daughter of Heracles, who sacrificed herself to save Athens, and the two are distinct figures, though scholars have occasionally blurred them together. Hades' daughter, Macaria, is older, quieter, and represents something the Greeks genuinely hoped for. Nyx. Nyx is older than almost everything. She is the primordial goddess of the night, one of the first beings to emerge from chaos at the very beginning of creation, which places her existence before the Titans, before the Olympians, before the entire mythological history that most people know. Her seniority was not ceremonial. Even Zeus feared her. In the Iliad, the god of sleep, Hypnos, tells Hera that he will help her deceive Zeus, but that he will never, under any circumstances, make Nyx angry, because even the king of the gods would not cross her. That is a remarkable line. It means that in the deepest layer of Greek cosmological thinking, there was something that outranked divine authority entirely, and it was night. Nyx is the mother of an enormous number of dark abstractions: Thanatos, Hypnos, the Moirai, who are the Fates, Nemesis, who is divine retribution, Eris, who is strife, and many more, making her essentially the origin point of every dark force operating in the universe. Hesiod's theogony is the primary ancient source for her genealogy. She lives at the absolute edge of existence, in a vast house at the ends of the earth, where she and Hemera, the goddess of day, pass each other at the threshold, but never share the same space. When night leaves, day enters. They never overlap. Nyx is not evil. She is simply ancient beyond the reach of any story. Erebus. Erebus is so fundamental to the structure of the Greek cosmos that he barely has a personality, and that absence is itself the point. He is the primordial god of darkness and shadow, one of the 5 first beings named by Hesiod, alongside Chaos, Gaia, Tartarus, and Eros. He emerged at the very beginning, before light existed, and he represents the deep darkness of the underworld as a divine condition, rather than a place you can point to on a map. His name became the word for the underworld itself. Erebus is both a god and a geography, the shadowy space through which the dead pass on their way to Hades' kingdom. He fathered children with Nyx, most notably Ether, the bright upper air, and Hemera, the goddess of day, which means that from primordial darkness, light itself was born, one of the more quietly profound details in all of Greek cosmology. Beyond that, Erebus has no stories, no cult, no temples, no myths in which he acts or speaks or chooses. He simply exists as the background condition of the universe, the darkness that was there before anything else, and that remains underneath everything now. The Greeks did not tell stories about Erebus for the same reason they did not tell stories about gravity. Some things are not characters. They are the conditions that make all other characters possible. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.